be politically correct. But let's think about this for a moment. Muhammad and his followers attack Khaybar. After the Muslims kill a bunch of men and rape a bunch of women, standard practice for Muslims back then, a Jewish woman comes up to Muhammad. The Muslims had slaughtered her family, and she offers to cook dinner for Muhammad and his band of merry men. And Muhammad accepts her offer. "Sure, I love lamb. So nice of you to cook dinner for us after we butchered your father and your husband." Look, if Muhammad doesn't have enough common sense to realize he probably shouldn't eat that lamb, why should we trust anything that comes out of his mouth? If a woman comes up to you and says, "Hi, you slaughtered my family. Care for a delicious meal?" and the only response you can think of is,
Yeah, I think so.
"Sorry, you're not a real prophet." Fourth, despite the fact that Muslims had slaughtered her family, the Jewish woman, Zainab, was actually open to the possibility that Muhammad was a prophet. She gave him the poison as a test. If he were a true prophet, he wouldn't eat it. If he were a false prophet, he'd die. Since Muhammad died from the poisoning, he failed Zainab's test. Fifth, Muhammad's companion Bishr could taste the poison as soon as he put the lamb in his mouth. Why did he keep eating? He kept eating because he believed in Muhammad. There's no way this lamb is poisoned. Muhammad is eating it. He's the prophet. Bishr's faith in Muhammad got him killed. And I'm willing to lay this down as a rule. If I can't trust you with my dinner, I definitely can't trust you with my salvation. If you can't figure out what's waiting for you in food, how could you possibly know what's waiting for you in the afterlife?
Ignorance is bliss.
Sixth, when Zainab told Muhammad that she had poisoned him, Muhammad said that Allah would never allow it. But Allah did allow it. So if Muhammad was wrong about Allah then, please explain to me why I should trust him when he tells me other things about Allah.
Back in 2020, I think in the fall of 2020, I think in September or October, I can't remember the month, but I made a video about the death of Muhammad, and or I made a rebuttal video to David Wood's video, "Who Killed Muhammad?" The problem, I wasn't really satisfied with the audio on that video because I didn't have this microphone back then. I just bought this microphone a few months ago. I wasn't satisfied with the audio production of that video, so I'm going to redo that video, and there's going to be improved audio here because of this microphone. But anyways, basically, David Wood's arguments is this: the Muslims were the bad guys at Khaybar, or the Muslims instigated the war of Khaybar. They killed that woman's husband and father, and Zainab bin Harith's husband and father. 3, that they raped women, and 4, the Muslim men raped women, and 4, that the Prophet Muhammad was killed by poison, and Allah cut off his irota, and because of this, Prophet Muhammad is not a real prophet, or he's not trustworthy. The issue now, let's go step by step here. Let's go. Why did Muslims attack Khaybar? Let's get into that, because that was the first point he brought up. The reason why Khaybar was invaded by the Prophet Muhammad and the Muslims was because the Jews of Khaybar instigated violence against the Muslims by provoking the enemies of the Muslims to fight the Muslims. See Ibn Ehteshaam, Volume 2, page 272, and Ibn Ehteshaam, Volume 3, page 272, and Ibn Ehteshaam, Volume 2, and Volume 3, pages 272 to 280. So basically, the Jews of Khaybar were instigating violence, or they were warmongers. That's why the Prophet Muhammad and the early Muslims invaded them, or conquered them, or fought the war with them. You can find this in any biography book of the Prophet Muhammad. So I got this. This is a two-volume set, the biography of the Prophet of Islam, Volume 1 and Volume 2, and One second. Let me just get to the. Let me just get to the part about Khyber. Hang on one second. It says the Khyber expedition on page 619. So if we go to 619, I'll just give you a little bit more references here. Oops. All right. It says on Ibn Ehteshaam, Volume 3, page 269, Ibn Ehteshaam, Volume 3, pages 298 to 299, Ibn Ehteshaam, Volume 3, pages 307 to 309. It says that the leaders were filled with hatred for the Muslims and used every opportunity to harm them. So these were basically warmongers against the Muslims. Hang on one second. The Jews of Khyber did nothing to expose their enmity of Islam until the leaders from the exiled Banu Nadir tribe had taken refuge with them. As we have mentioned earlier, men like Salam bin Abu Halak, Kiyana ibn Arabi, and Huway bin Ka'b have chosen to live at Khyber. The leaders were filled with hatred for Muslims and used every opportunity to harm them. They found that they could use the Quraysh and other tribes as horses to ride into Medina. They invoked them to violence and managed to bring them against the Muslims, resulting in what is known as the ditch encounter. They managed to break away the Banu Qurayza, who broke the treaty and sided with the enemies. And again, this is all through this book. The biography of, or a biography of the Prophet Muhammad, Volume 2, page 619, and the references are Ibn Ehteshaam, Volume 3, pages 269, like I said, Ibn Ehteshaam, Volume 3, page 298 to 299, Ibn Ehteshaam, Volume 3, page 307 to 309. So basically, the Muslims just didn't invade Khyber for no reason. There was a reason why. It was because these people were warmongering against the Muslims. All right, so getting to the next point, which was the rape of women. I don't know what the hell he's talking about. Nowhere in the biography or nowhere in the hadith does it say that the Muslim men raped Khyber women. That is false. The Prophet Muhammad married Safiya, at Khyber, because she was taken as a slave, and the Prophet Muhammad chose her for himself. Basically, he gave her a choice. According to authentic hadith, you can either go back and live with your family or you can become my wife, and she chose to be his wife, according to the biographical sources. So basically, getting back to, so there was no rape of women in Islam. In Islam, raping women is strictly forbidden. If someone says, well, Islam allows, sex with slave girls or allows concubines, yes, but it has to be consensual sex. It can't be rape. There's no, in Islamic law, there's a hadith in Abu Dawud where somebody raped a woman and the Prophet Muhammad punished the rapist. In other words, you cannot rape women. If you cannot rape a woman. If a woman does not want to have sexual intercourse with you, you don't have sexual intercourse with her. That's correct Islamic law, but that's a whole other topic. I'm trying to keep this video to the point, which was who killed Muhammad. So getting to this who killed Muhammad thing, basically, the whole thing is that the poison. There's two important points that David Wood misses here. One, the poison was supposed to kill the Prophet Muhammad immediately, and two, the poison. If the Prophet Muhammad was a false prophet, he would not have been supernaturally informed that the sheep the goat or the sheep he was eating was poisoned. We read in Sunan Abu Dawud, Volume 5, page 107, Hadith number 4512. The sheep informed the Prophet supernaturally that it was poisoned. See comment on page 109. This was a miracle. This was a miracle done to the Prophet. A piece of roasted meat informed him that it was poisoned. Also, the comment on page, if you see the comment on page 110, the Prophet forgave the woman for poisoning him at first, but when one of his companions died after eating that meat, she was killed in retaliation. So that woman was killed for killing the Prophet Muhammad's disciple or companion, Bishr. Okay, what else do I want to say here? So basically, and this is also found in Ibn Sa'd, Volume 2, pages 151 to 152, that the sheep miraculously told the Prophet Muhammad that it was poison. So if the Prophet Muhammad was a false prophet, he wouldn't have been supernaturally informed of the. He would have been supernaturally informed that the sheep was poisoned. So basically, the whole thing is the Prophet Muhammad knew he was going to die. In Sahih Bukhari, Volume 5, number 713, Bukhari, number 4430, Bukhari, number 3672, Ibn Sa'd, Volume 2, page 242, Ibn Sa'd, Volume 2, page 239, Ibn Sa'd, Volume 2, page 240, in the History of Al-Tabari, Volume 9, page 108. And all these sources or all these narrations are authentic, because I looked at the individual sources for those stories, and they are authentic. So basically what happened, the whole thing is this. The whole thing is that the poison was supposed to kill the Prophet Muhammad immediately. It was supposed to have an immediate effect. So when the Prophet Muhammad was eating the poison, it was supposed to kill him right then and there. It was supposed to kill him within a few minutes. We find this in the History of Al-Tabari, Volume 8, pages 123 to 124, and this narration is authentic. I looked at the sources. Yet the Prophet Muhammad, and this is the important part that David Wood doesn't mention, yet the Prophet Muhammad lived 3 years. This is the important part. The Prophet Muhammad lived 3 years after eating the poisoned sheep in Khaybar. This is found in Ibn Sa'd, Volume 2, pages 151 to 152. So this is the whole miracle of it. If the Prophet Muhammad was a false prophet, he would have been killed right then and there. But he lived 3 years after eating the poison. Thus, that was the miracle of him surviving the poison. Also see the Ibn Sa'd, Volume 2, pages 249 to 252, the History of Al-Tabari, Volume 8, pages 123 to 124, Sahih Bukhari, book or hadith number 786, and Abu Dawud, hadith number 4512. So again, I'll be leaving all my references below. So that's the whole miraculous feature of it. The Prophet Muhammad was supposed to die by the poison immediately, but he lived 3 years after eating the poison. As for this claim that Prophet Muhammad can't be trusted in regards to salvation, well, if that's the case, then so basically the whole thing is that Allah allowed the Prophet Muhammad to live, or God allowed the Prophet Muhammad to live after eating the poison, allowed him to live long enough to complete the mission of Islam, or the way it was supposed to be completed, and then gave the choice to the Prophet Muhammad to live or die, and the Prophet Muhammad chose to die, according to Sahih Bukhari, etc., etc. So that's the whole miracle of it. The Prophet Muhammad surviving the poison indeed was surviving the poison for 3 years is indeed the whole miracle of it. And the sheep informing the Prophet Muhammad that it was poisoned was another miracle of it. So basically, I hope this answers the claims that David Wood is making here. Stay tuned. The final videos are coming up.